Welcome to Uncanny X-Minutes, where we bring you the comics behind the movies. I'm producer James.
And I'm Sasha.
And we're watching X-Men 3: The Last Stand, minutes 0 through 10. What happens in these minutes, Stasha?
Ooh, new movie, new us. No, Sam us. Professor X and Magneto recruit a young Jean Grey. Young Angel hates his wings, and the young team has a danger room training session while Cyclops broods, as he is wont to do.
Well, I mean, Jean died.
That's true. I didn't say it was for no good reason. I'm just saying.
But he is brooding.
He is brooding.
And that's what they like to get him to do.
Yeah, he does like it.
I think most of this movie, he's brooding. But, like you said, we are in a new season, new movie. They dropped the 3, I think. I don't think this one has the 3. We've had this discussion before. It is just the last stand. I like the 3 myself.
I do too. I like the numbers, but
that's just like the old man in me that's like, oh, back in my day, we numbered our movies. The Wikipedia does say it was marketed as X-Men 3, which
that makes sense.
That makes sense, but it does say X3 the last stand too.
I feel so much better about that because I call it X3 all the time, and I remember that
poster.
DVD case, right, with the Wolverine 3.
There's an X with the 3 claws, making it look like X3.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's not what it's called.
I think it's most of the time just the last stand.
Yeah.
Which, is that a title? Is that a comic book title at all?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I can't believe it took me till we're about to record to ask it, but
let me check. We can do a real quick. The problem is that comic books have come out after.
Sure.
And will take titles from movies and stuff.
Okay, from what I've seen, the only Last Stand I can find is a Spider-Man storyline.
Oh, okay. There is a volume, The Last Stand, but it's I can read level 2 read along for the movie.
Okay,
so I feel pretty comfortable.
Marvel Knights Spider-Man had a story called The Last Stand.
Okay, great. That feels
where it looks like he was taking on the Sinister 12.
Okay, Rogues Gallery.
But a Last Stand, that makes sense.
Totally does. Anyway, let's go back to X-Men. I don't know anything about Spider-Man, as we all know.
What happens in this 10 minutes that you would like to talk about first?
I want to talk about Warren.
Warren Worthington the Third.
Yes.
The waspiest name you can find.
Son of Catherine Worthington and Warren Worthington the Second, sometimes called Warren Worthington Jr. I've seen both.
Oh,
in
yeah,
print,
that makes sense.
actually.
He would be a junior.
He would. But
that's not necessarily true. You can be a second if you're not named after your father.
That makes sense. So not,
Because I was almost named after my grandfather, but my parents changed my middle name. So technically I could have been a second.
But you're not.
But I'm not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that. I'm not that white.
You're not, and that's all that matters.
Thank you.
Warren Worthington, very rich.
Yes. Worthington Industries.
Yes. They kind of, I like that introduction makes sense. Mm-hmm. When you see him in the giant building with his dad.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the scenes, it's him literally as a young man. This is obviously as his wings are just coming in.
Yeah.
Cutting them off with a knife.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, okay.
Which is very real. And that's it sticks the tone from previous movies, which I will give them that.
For sure. It is completely different than the comic books. I couldn't remember specifically, but I watched that scene and I was like, that doesn't read totally correct to me. And I couldn't remember, so I went back and I did the research and read all of the Angel introductory stuff and some later Angel introductory stuff that we'll go into.
Oh, like when they do a series and they're like, this takes place beforehand?
Angel Revelations, came out in 2008. We're going to be talking very heavily.
I read that one, actually.
Miniseries?
When it came out, so
with
it's been
really
a minute.
Interesting art style, right? Yeah, it is. It looks very graphic novel-y. Everybody's very long and thin. It's
exaggerated and stylized.
Very, very stylized. Really, really interesting series. Also, the X-Men Hidden Years, which came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, which is actually around the same time these movies came out. Mm-hmm. So those would have been contemporaries. However, None of those things are really reflected here at
No.
all.
No.
So one, the main sticking point is that Warren's parents, they are alive at the beginning of X-Men,
Okay.
but are dead before Claremont takes over.
Yeah, I've been doing those recaps.
Yes.
The Stan Lee recaps, and the first time they show up is not until like even issue 14 or something like that.
Yes, it is issue 14. The last issue they show up is issue 18, I believe.
Oh, so not long after. Gotcha.
Not long after.
I mean, he's like having dinner with them. It's so like innocuous, and then
Yes.
he's just like whoop, and then he's gone.
Yeah. Most of the information about Warren's parents comes from, obviously, all of the stuff that was written later, like the 2008 and early 2000 stuff, where people have gone back post Claremont, post Archangel, post Angel, and all of his storylines up to that point, obviously, and filled in those blanks. The Hidden Years, the X-Men series, The Hidden Years, is literally just filling in stuff that happened like between issues of the X-Men from that point. So it's actually kind of interesting. One, Warren's parents never knew he was a mutant.
Really? Okay.
They died not knowing their son was a mutant. So all of the scenes with his dad and like, whatever, I think the implication could be they probably would have not been super great about it.
No.
So the main point is that Warren's dad has never known that he's a mutant. Mm-hmm. And it's arguable his mom didn't either, but that is fuzzy.
Okay.
So do you want to know why Catherine may or may not know that her son is a mutant? What do you know about Catherine Worthington?
I know nothing about
Nothing.
her.
Okay, great.
Nothing.
So Catherine doesn't have a lot of backstory. The Hidden Years is where it fleshes this out. It like talks about the scene. Mm-hmm. And this is after his dad has passed away.
Okay.
Angel knows that his uncle Bert murdered his father. That happened.
Okay.
He murdered his father, and he finds out in this series that his uncle is going to remarry his mom.
All right. Sure.
He's not happy about it. At the beginning of this issue, they reiterate that this is X-Men: The Hidden Years number 15, I believe. And he says that, they talk about how Warren never told his parents, so they don't know. But they need to stop this machination with his uncle and his mom. And he doesn't really know, but he thinks that his uncle wants to remarry so he can have access to the family fortune. Mm-hmm. Because they are insanely rich.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, isn't there some, like, when you go, how do the X-Men funded? Isn't it partly Professor X has a lot of money? And partly Warren has a lot of money.
Depending on what era you're talking about.
Because sometimes Professor X
sometimes
is not
it's Professor
there.
X, but sometimes it's Warren. Yeah. And a lot of times when Professor X is quote unquote dead, Warren steps up and fills a lot of the void. Sometimes it's also Emma Frost.
Okay.
So there are quite a few.
We got a lot of rich mutants running around.
That will
honestly,
fund
I'll
academies.
take it, because what we don't need is like, how are we gonna fund this? Like Spider-Man has that problem, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Because that's real. It's one person. But when you're like, no, we're trying to help everyone.
Yeah.
We all pool together.
There may also be an era of DaCosta helping.
Oh, I could see that.
I could see that too.
I could see that.
But anyway, we'll talk
Another
about
rich
Sunspot later. But yeah, like they are talking about this. He's coming clean. His uncle is known as the Dazzler. No relation
Not Dazzler.
to Allison Blair.
Okay.
But he goes by the Dazzler. That's his he's like a supervillain.
Okay.
So he knows that he needs to stop this from happening. A lot of nonsense happens. Whatever. Uh-huh. What you find out at the middle, towards the end of the book, is that this entire plot is also to kill his mom. His uncle, in cahoots with the family doctor, because of course they have a family doctor on staff, have been slowly poisoning his mom so she will die, cementing Bert as the sole owner and kind of inheritor of all of the money. So if he marries her and then she dies,
right,
post-marriage, he gets everything.
Yeah.
I guess they don't have prenups in X-Men.
Well, it's your brother. It's your brother's. Your husband's brother.
That seems weird, also. But I no judgment. They're not like related. But that seems like, I don't know.
I don't think I'd want to do that.
I don't think I'd want to do that.
My
Rich
wife
people, though.
Only has a brother, so that also changes things.
Don't think I would do that, but okay, whatever. Rich people. I don't know. I'm not a billionaire.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes to stop his uncle from taking over. They fight. Whatever. He beats him up, but then what he realizes is that his mom is too far gone.
Okay.
But now he has like exploded out of his clothes, no costume, bare shirt and pants, like he kind of was in this movie, actually.
Yeah. Like later, there's a nice like glory shot of that.
Honestly, the outfit is the same, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's jeans and nothing.
Yeah. And he basically, comes back from fighting Dazzler, runs to the room. His mom's on the sick bed and the doctor's there and he's talking about I can't believe the guy gave her too much. Seems like the uncle was giving her too much high of a dosage. She was altering the dosages.
Yeah. He's
impatient, I suppose. And Warren is like, has to be held back by all the other X-Men, where he's like, I can't believe you've done this. How could you do this? You were like part of the family. And the doctor was like, it's because you are disgusting and you're a mutant and you're bringing shame upon the family effectively.
Yeah.
So
family doctor.
Right. Yeah. The negative connotation, the muted hatred isn't coming from his parents, but it is coming from the doctor. And he is kind of stepping into that role of like, if they would hate this, like they would also hate you.
I do like it because someone might go, oh, how does no one know Angel has these huge wings? Mm-hmm. And it is from the old Stan Lee comics where he always has this like harness.
Yeah.
He's got these like leather straps that like really bring down his wings. And then he always wears something like coats and stuff over it. And we see that later in this movie too.
Yes.
Like when he comes in later in the movie, he takes off the coat, he takes off a shirt. You see all the leather straps and everything. That's very Stan Lee.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he wears a mask. Like all the X-Men wear masks in the early Stan Lee stuff.
They do. And also he has a little bit of there's like another thing where he wears like long hair and like he sometimes has disguises, quote unquote. They're probably as effective as a Clark Kent disguise.
Sure.
Hey, whatever.
The first one's good though. If you're like, I didn't know you had wings.
That's actually pretty. Yeah, it seems like a dead giveaway. It seems like it'd be obvious.
Yeah. Oh, you're that guy with the white wings.
Right.
Okay.
So he goes. So the reason why I say his mom may or may not know is that she is about to die. And she sees Warren and she says, oh, Warren, you're an angel. And she's saying that, like, if you come to take me to the pearly gates. She doesn't seem like she's completely cognizant of, like, what's happening. And, like, the last scene is Warren holding her after Beast has looked at her and is like, there's nothing we could do. And he, like, flies her up into, like, the sun, kind of as a last flight. But she doesn't seem to be, like...
surprised?
She's not really surprised, but also she doesn't have the... She's barely keeping her eyes open. She thinks that she's dead already. It's hard to say. So you could argue that she didn't really know.
Yeah.
She didn't really process that. She doesn't act like she doesn't come to say, you're a mutant.
Oh, Dip, you got wings.
No, she interprets him as a literal angel, which is not the first and only time.
Sure.
So in X-Men
he's also canonically gorgeous.
That is also very true. That is absolutely true.
There's like sort of a running gag when I was doing the research for Bobby coming out.
Yeah.
Where like him and Jean Grey are both like, Angel, am I right? Like,
yeah, right. Warren's supposed to be hot, man. That's literally part of the character.
Some of the ways he's drawn, he's got like the long hair, like I think it's in the Wolverine the X-Men run where he's got the long hair and he's going shirtless and he like will descend from the sky like locks blowing in the wind. It's like yeah.
That's the other thing about Angel though, is that like in that run he doesn't have his memories and he's like he thinks he's a literal angel and that's like a whole other problem. But see, this is what I guess like we could say that's also part of like him and his powers, right? It's that sometimes he hates it and he's trying, like he doesn't feel comfortable in his own body. In X-Men Revelations, Angel Revelations, excuse me, it's a 5-issue miniseries from 2008. And it also is a hidden years.
Yeah.
It's his last year of high school, right before he goes to college, quote unquote.
Right.
Which is a little weird, right? Because you're like, isn't he supposed to be at the X Mansion?
Yeah.
It's fuzzy in its placement. It does allude to the fact that he will be meeting the team in the future.
Sure.
So where that sits in the timeline scale of things, I am unclear actually, but it doesn't matter because it is kind of a recreation of his story in the original comics. The school name is different.
Okay.
But like it resulting in this burning building, him wearing a wig to hide who he is while he's saving people.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same. It's a Marvel Knights story.
Okay.
Have you heard of Marvel Knights?
Yeah.
Okay.
That Spider-Man one was Marvel Knights too.
Right. That's like a little bit more adult comics.
It's not quite Marvel Max.
It's not. Yes,
but it's like underneath Marvel Max,
right,
but kind of
it.
above normal 616.
Right.
Usually. Marvel's changed since then.
Yeah.
They don't really need the Knights
They don't
anymore.
need that. Yeah, that's just like reading it. I'm like, this would just be in Marvel now.
Yeah, this should just be a normal story.
But I mean, it is like, it kind of tells that story. It's dealing with like, they're at a Catholic school and they're dealing with like sexual assault of a student by like a friar that works there. They're dealing with like, it's a little bit about him getting his wings in and not knowing what's happening to him. And it's kind of that like puberty storyline that's happening in this like very rich boarding school, and his like tensions with other people. And it's really interesting because even in that comic book, I don't feel like Angel hates his powers at all, because he is much more like, he's confused about what's happening to him and he's trying to hide it. And he wants to tell his parents. In fact, he writes a letter explaining it. He thinks he's dying, but he ends up tearing it up. And then he tries to call his parents, and his parents are like, they're like, his dad is talking about like, you know, he's saying, I'm not going to come home because he's like, his friend found out what happened to him and now they're like colluding at the school or whatever. And his parents are like, you're not coming home for Christmas, but darling, we're going to the country. And it's like, his mom is like, whatever. And his dad's like, well, no, you know, he's making something of his life. He's a good for nothing. You know, it seems like there's a little bit of an antagonistic relationship with his dad, which is not present in the original, like number 14 of like original X-Men. So it's a little fuzzy in terms of like the continuity, but it does technically kind of
honestly
fit.
I'll if there was basically nothing, I'll take anything.
Yeah, right.
It's like they had dinner once.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. And it ends with, the whole series ends, he has the wings, he saves people, and he's like, oh, I'm just a guy with wings. Like the other kid was a true hero because he like, you know, sacrificed himself, but whatever. Long story short, even then he like is practicing with his wings and he's like enjoying his powers and stuff. And that's kind of how I remember Angel before he becomes Archangel. Like, you could make the argument that his powers kind of are, without the ones, not including the ones that are invisible.
Yeah.
That is probably a nice one to have. It's really hard to demonize somebody who looks like an angel. Pretty privilege is real. And
for sure.
Warren benefits. There are multiple times where he's running X Corp where he walks around with the wings out because it like gives him a well,
because he's also got nice tailored suits.
Yes.
With wing space.
I mean, it's hard. It's a line between Warren and Harvey Birdman, but he walks it like.
That's amazing.
It's true.
That's amazing.
But anyway, so like, when he becomes Archangel, when he gets taken by Apocalypse, Apocalypse technically saves his life from an exploding plane by Cameron Hodge. We're not going into that.
It's the whole thing.
Read X-Force. But
well, no, it's X Factor. Right?
X Factor.
You
see
keep,
the wrong
you keep
one
switching
every
them.
time. X Factor.
X Factor.
And snatches him out.
I mean, read
whatever.
X-Force too, but
yes,
X Factor.
But X Factor. He turns him into this like blue skin metal wings because
the one that most people probably know.
Right, because his wings were surgically removed by Cameron Hodge specifically. Like during that run, there's a big thing. And Archangel is evil and has like evil behaviors. And it's actually kind of interesting because there's a point where he's with Psylocke. Warren is in relationship with Psylocke for a while, who is Betsy at the time.
We'll go into that whole thing.
Not Betsy Braddock as Psylocke. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, okay. Yep.
Yep.
Put a pin in that. We'll be back in Apocalypse to unravel that knot.
Yeah, we'll talk about Quanon and Betsy later. But anyway, she talks about like how she has tried to kind of separate Archangel from Angel in his mind. Like, she is psychically putting up barriers because she can't get rid of it completely because it would like fracture him and he wouldn't recover. But he is like, she needs to kind of restrain it from keeping it from taking over. So there is an era in which he's still struggling with that, even though he doesn't look like Archangel anymore.
Some of the later stuff he's able to switch back and forth.
Yeah, when he has a little bit more control. I think it's in the conclusion of that where that storyline starts.
There's an X-Force run where he can do both.
Yeah, I am talking about Uncanny X-Force. So yeah. So it's the end of that run, and it's very interesting. I mean, those powers are kind of cool. It's like it makes Angel more broody and more complicated. When he becomes Archangel, he's so emo. It's so funny because he goes from this like very blonde, blue-eyed, all-American boy
to a heavy metal death cover.
Yeah, and it's like it's a struggle for Warren. He doesn't know who he is either. Anyway, it's complicated, but I love Warren. He's such a, I don't know. He's like a weirdo, but I love him. Like, you know, he's a jerk. He's privileged. He's rich. He's hot. He goes through girlfriends like water. In love with Jean Grey, canonically.
Well, who isn't?
True. That's a great question. But
the answer from the early run is everybody. Everybody's until Storm shows up. Everyone's in love with Jean Grey.
Right, and then it switches to Storm.
Yeah.
X-Men does that. It's fine. But like, that was a major plot line because he gets dumped by Candy Southern, and then she dies, and then like, anyway, long story. I talked for 20 minutes about Warren, so I'm going to pass the torch.
Okay. Let's start with, I have a couple more topics, but I want to start with the small one first. And that is, we get to see the first and I think only fastball special.
Love it.
In the movies, which it's one of those things that most people know about. And that's usually Colossus or another strong person picking up Wolverine and tossing him like a ball at something.
I love when Magic does it. A different Rasputin.
Just the other one.
Yeah.
I guess there's more than one, but the other X-Man one.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's thrown at a Sentinel, which is very much always happens too. I think X-Men 97 does it.
Yeah, they do, for sure.
Except for it's not Colossus in that. Who throws him in that one?
Oh, I can't remember.
In like the first episode, it's Gambit. Charges him up and shoots him. It's like a
that's
super
little
powered
different. Yeah, but it's kind
special.
of giving the impression of a fastball special.
But it was first time it was ever done. Do you know?
No, what
Issue
is
number 100.
Oh, in the Claremont first issue?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
X-Men number 100 was the first time it was done. I tried looking up other mutant circuits because that's what they call it. Because like in the Krakoan era, there was like a storyline where I want to say it was in New Mutants where they're like, we should be working more together because the Krakoan resurrection protocol is a mutant circuit where the five, they call them, all have different powers that help with resurrecting mutants. And they even have backups. Like there's all those fun pages between the stories that are like, oh, here's the circuit, here are the people that are in it, and here are the backups in case. Like they really are like, let's be honest, we have this thought out.
Yeah.
I found like a page. It was like, oh, mutant circuits, and I'm like, no. This is the fastball special and the resurrection protocol are about the biggest ones, and the rest of them are like, oh, because they were trying to do more circuits, but like none of them really caught.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, like, you could just like, it's hard when you start trying to be like, it's a circuit thing instead of just like teamwork.
Just teamwork. I think that's what it is. It's more, it just becomes more teamwork and like one-off things.
Right.
Like X-Men 97 does it well when they're falling out of a plane and Cyclops just calls out like the plan. And it was like, see on the ground. Everybody knows what they need to do.
Right.
That's more of what X-Men should be and not like called out specials like the fastball special.
Right. But I mean, it to me, it works sometimes with Colossus and Wolverine because they're kind of goofy together.
Yes.
So
I love it.
I like the circuits for Krakoa because it was like a structured government thing that they were doing.
Yeah.
And I like the fastball special because it's clearly like a cute thing that Wolverine and Colossus do together.
Right.
But I think that's probably why the others don't catch because it's kind of hard. It has to be.
It's trying to recreate magic.
Yeah. And it's like, I could maybe see something. I could see somebody with Kitty Pryde, maybe people who are like serious but can be a little goofy.
Yeah. I think
tough,
a lot
though.
of people. I should have looked up who all has tossed Wolverine.
I imagine
there's
list
a long list.
is insane.
Because it's not always, and I think there's probably been like, oh, people throwing Laura or people throwing other people. Just basically people throwing people.
I know for a fact in the new X Factor, I think somebody threw Doc in. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not positive about that one, but I feel like anybody with like Wolverine claws can get thrown around.
Oh yeah, no, there's a whole on the fandom website. There is a whole list of variations like Shatterstar being hurled by Warpath.
Okay. I can see that.
So like a bunch of stuff. Spider-Man throwing X-23.
Yeah,
I like
there
that.
we go. That's
like
a good
that.
one. That's a good one. I like that a lot.
But yeah, nothing much. Just like that is an iconic thing that at the time in the movie is great because it just feels like, hey, how's your throwing arm? Like perfect. That's all I need to know. I just want to see it. I just want to see it once. And I did. And I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
We also get to see a Sentinel, but there's a whole movie about Sentinels. This looks like a real Sentinel, though.
Yes, the head
When
when
the
it comes
head
crashing
landed,
down.
I was like, that looks good.
Yeah.
Where's that? I want that.
I want more of those.
Where are those at? Can we pull those out of storage, please? But yeah. So
it definitely
anyway.
felt like a lot of money because they didn't do the full body.
No.
Went into just
but I
getting
liked
that
it
head.
though because they just did the eyes lit up.
Yeah.
And that it gave you enough of a tease. Like that's the kind of tease you want in the next movie. We want Sentinels.
Right.
And we don't. We don't get them for like 3 more movies. Anyway, all that to say, they are in a danger room.
Yes.
When they're doing this. And that's more of what I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to start with the fastball special. The Danger Room was their issue 1
Okay.
right at the beginning. Jack Kirby pitched it because he thought they would need someplace to train.
It's a good idea.
And Stanley was like, yeah, that sounds great. Because then you can always open with an action sequence if you want because they're just training. But at the time, in the early run, it's like traps, flamethrowers, projectiles, like a lot of mechanical things that pop out of the wall, the floor, the ceiling, whatever. And it's like, okay, we're going to shoot a bunch of stuff at you, Warren. I need you to dodge. And they'll call it out later. It's like, oh boy, good thing I was training. Like,
right.
but I mean, they even used it against Juggernaut when he attacked the X Mansion. Like Beast like started the danger room up to try stopping him and it didn't work, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Then we're going to fast forward a bit
Okay.
for Professor X becoming friends with the Shi'ar.
Yeah.
And we get to start adding that Shi'ar nonsense
Love share technology.
into the danger room. I believe this is when it upgrades to more of a like a holodeck.
Okay.
What we see in the movie.
It's not just like big heavy weights falling down on a string.
Exactly. This is more like, oh, we're going to set a scenario that looks real. And I think the first time it was shown, from what my research was telling me, was New Mutants #1.
Okay. Interesting.
They're shown the danger room and they're like, oh no, there's a monster in there. It's coming at us. And it's like, no, that's shut it off. It's not real.
Okay.
So that was the first time that was shown. The logic behind it, I found was in one of the handbooks. They were
Okay.
trying to explain how it could work. And it was holograms coupled with force fields
Okay.
to make them solid.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the danger room for a long time. Jump ahead again to Astonishing X-Men, the Joss Whedon run.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
There is a whole storyline with a cure, which we'll probably get into later in this movie. A kid gets depowered. Okay. And he's on a cliffside and Armor comes up. And we've talked about Armor before, and we'll talk about her a lot probably when we talk about this storyline. Yeah. He's bummed out that he doesn't have powers anymore, and he was a flyer. His name was Wing. Didn't have wings, but his name was Wing, and he could just fly. And now he can't fly anymore. So she's like, well, you could just kill yourself, essentially. And so it cuts to this kid on the floor of the danger room, dead. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
So I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit here because they don't explain this stuff like linearly, because all of a sudden danger shows up. Like the danger room was sentient the whole time with the Shi'ar technology.
The AI to sentience pipeline in Marvel Comics is truly incredible.
Sure is. Sure is. So the way that they explain it later in the storyline is that one night when Professor X is working on the danger room asked, "Where am I?" And he made the choice to like ignore it and hide it, like hide the life form within the danger room construct.
That sounds like Professor X.
Doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
That's some grade A Professor X. So apparently the danger room had a programming that was kill the X-Men. Like that was its.
I remember this.
Yeah, so that's it's like primary programming to keep it as a training simulator.
Yeah.
Is like your job is to kill the X-Men. problem was there was also another set of programming that was like, but if you're about to kill them, don't kill them. So there was like this feedback loop almost that's like, try killing them, but if you're about to kill them, don't kill them.
Yeah.
Pull back. You're done. Wing killing himself in the danger room unlocked that protocol.
Oh, because he died.
Because he died in the danger room, but Danger didn't do anything. Danger didn't like make the cliff go away. Danger just said, hey, how about you just jump off?
As armor.
As armor. Armor was never there. So Danger's this like female formed blue robot that now wants to kill the X-Men. And more specifically, wants to kill Professor X. Her father, she keeps referring to as. This is also the run where you have Ord from Breaker World Breaker. What was the name of it?
Oh my God. Wow. Unlocked a
Break
memory.
World. Yeah. So this is the story with Ord from Break World. This is like second arc of Astonishing X-Men. Okay. This is like they do some nonsense in space. Danger ends up joining the X-Men. Okay. Like helping them out in space. But because Emma Frost realized that there's still some programming there that won't allow her to kill the X-Men, she's like, how about this? You work with us, I'll give you Professor X.
That sounds like Emma Frost.
Sounds great. So they finish with that. So this has all been Whedon's run. And then Whedon jumps off the book.
Right.
Warren Ellis is now writing it. So Danger's no longer in the book. X-Men Legacy.
Okay.
There is a storyline where Rogue is trying to get control of her powers. She goes to Australia, to where they used to live.
Yeah.
And Professor X goes to find her. Danger knows that Professor X is going to go find her. So Danger goes there too. Okay. Danger meets up with Rogue pretending to be somebody else because she has the holographic technology.
Yeah.
Some Shi'ar scrappers show up, seeing that there's Shi'ar technology on Earth.
Time to scrap it.
And it's real nice ones. Give them a pretty penny. They basically fry her circuits and she kind of goes insane.
Oh.
And creates a huge danger room of the Australian outback.
Oh.
And it's weird because it's she wants to help Rogue. So she's trying to help Rogue get over the traumas that she has gone through.
Okay.
By creating a huge simulation of all the things that have happened in her life. So this
Some real CBT therapy.
Right? So the Shi'ar scrappers and Professor X get caught up in it trying to figure out what's going on. They find Danger literally in the danger room in a simulation of the X Mansion.
Got it.
Professor X helps her out, fixes her, and basically they're friends now.
Okay. That seems suspicious. As somebody who knows Professor X.
Well, that's him trying to save his own bacon.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, maybe they're friends now not because he helped her out, but because he took out the little thing.
I mean, could be.
Anyway.
Could be. I mean, she is just programming. That is
That's
the part of the problem, you know?
Right.
While all this is going on, while like Danger is not the danger room anymore.
Got it. Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's funny.
Danger's no longer the danger room. Danger did show up recently in a Wolverine run.
Oh. You know, I don't
doesn't
read
really
those.
matter. It was a Wolverine Deadpool like crossover,
okay.
but Deadpool came into the Wolverine comic and Danger shows up at one point. That's all I'll say. It's not really that interesting, but
Interesting.
So she is still around.
That's good to know because, like, I mean,
Sometimes we lose track of them.
Yeah, characters just go.
Yeah, no, she's still around.
I'm kind of curious what she was doing during Krakoa.
I mean, we'll talk about it off mic because we have run out of time.
Oof, wow, we really went over today.
Some big, starting a new season.
Yeah, a lot to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about, and we didn't even talk about the fact that Beast showed up.
No, we didn't.
We got our first glimpse of a blue Beast, and we didn't even mention it till this long in.
Yeah,
right at the end.
We'll deal with that later.
We will. Well, I've been producer James,
and I'm Sasha,
and we'll see you for the next 10.